My name is Keane Beaken, Head of Mobile for Focus Group. We are the largest privately owned telecoms company in the UK, specialising in voice, data and IT.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us, Keane. So starting off, how long have you been working with Mdee?
We've been working with Mdee for nearly 2 years.
Okay.
We started working with Mdee by way of an acquisition that we did. We purchased a business that had an existing relationship with Mdee. If I'm honest, I think Mdee had probably made many phone calls through to us, and I remember taking a few, and I was quite reasonably closed off to the idea of doing anything significant with EE. We already had an existing relationship with digital wholesale solutions at the time, Daisy. We did a little bit of EE, but not much. It didn't work particularly well. And the impression I got was that, you know, it was just not a product we were particularly interested in. But by way of this acquisition, from what I can recall, I think Mdee used it as a way of kind of engineering a meeting with me, which they'd never been able to get previously. And we ended up having that meeting, and I was quite surprised by the way the business came across. And I suppose my view was, well, let's see what they're like. They can't be any worse than the company that we were using, which in fairness, I think were definitely hampered by the fact they were dealing with EE direct. But that was kind of how we started.
Okay. So in that 2 years, and how much would you say your business has grown with EE?
I would say within the context of having done previous to that virtually no EE business, be it via distribution or wholesale, it's grown quite significantly. EE is now definitely a proposition that we always consider. I think where previously we would have kind of done our level best to not sell EE. We're now quite comfortable with having EE as a product that we regularly put out to our customers. I'd still say probably EE is not our go-to network. Our go-to networks will always be Vodafone and O2, but we've done thousands of EE connections in less than 2 years, whereas today, having run the business for nearly 15 years, I think we've done a total of 500 or 600. So clearly it is working far better than it ever had done.
Yeah, sure. And what part specifically do you think Mdee played in that?
I think working with EE is always tricky. The way that they run their network is unusual at times. It doesn't always fit every business model, and it's never really fitted the way that we do business. We've always found it much easier to transact with O2 and Vodafone. I think what Mdee have done is, or they do, is they're, if you like, the bridge between us and EE, and they make that easier. They clearly know EE. It's the only, they're obviously very much connected with EE, and it's the only network that they're selling, and they know it very well. They know the challenges. They work well with them, and they clearly care about the relationship that they have with partners. That's clearly very key to them. So I guess you have challenges with EE when you're dealing with them, because there are certainly some nuances within connecting and reconciliation stuff that's challenging, but it's definitely easier with Mdee. And when there are problems and there are challenges, they're always willing to listen to them, and they'll always do whatever they can to help. So whilst it can still be challenging, it's so much easier with Mdee than with any of the other partnerships we've had for connecting EE.
Yeah, fantastic. And you mentioned the word relationship. So what's your specific relationship with Mdee? Who do you tend to deal with more so?
Well, I only really deal with Tanny, because I suppose as kind of the kind of a key stakeholder for mobile within Focus Group. Her and I are on similar levels. So my role, I oversee all of the mobile business within the Focus Group. So I don't get hugely involved on a tactical level. So I'm not dealing with our account manager. I'm not dealing with reconciliation and commissions. So in many respects, that's quite nice because, Tanny is, hugely knowledgeable within the industry. She's really good to talk to. So quite often we will just have a catch up. Usually every month or so, we will just have a catch up and a general chat about the industry. But she will always make time. Not only does she always make time to have those catch ups, which I think a lot of partners don't do. You don't want it every week. You don't want someone trying to converse, because we haven't got time for that. But certainly within every sort of 6 weeks or so, she schedules a quick catch up. It's nice to chat to her about the industry, but also she always makes time to very specifically say, what's going on with you guys? Is there anything I need to know about? Is there anything that I need to get involved with? At which point we will chat more specifically, where I can talk to her almost anecdotally and say, well, I'm not really sure of specifics, but I know that I've heard a few times that my team haven't been able to get hold of so-and-so within your business, or they're not getting back to us quick enough on funding requests. And I'm not talking about sort of tactical specifics, but more on a strategic level. That seems to be something you need to look at. And then what will happen is Tanny will speak to someone within the business who will then engage with the relevant managers within our business. And, we will see some traction. We will see things move. That for me, that's quite unusual, I would say. I would say Mdee is one of two partners we have that kind of relationship with, and that's very valuable. And I would say from the moment I met with Mdee, they clearly valued the opportunity to work with Focus Group, and they have never once, I would suggest, in my experience, ever not given the impression that that's a very key relationship to them, and that's unusual. So I think, but that, as I say, that is mostly me dealing directly with Tanny, and clearly Tanny is very busy. She works incredibly hard. She's always working, but she still makes time to catch up with us. And I've got colleagues within the business that are quite key within mobile that she speaks to fairly regularly. So yeah, that's my sort of experience of dealing directly with them.
Yeah, fab. That speaks volumes of the relationship two-way. And what about your team then with the sort of back office support team at Mdee? How does that work?
Well, I've got managers that run various different divisions within mobile, and they deal directly with account managers within Mdee. And then my understanding is there's sort of other people within Mdee that deal with sort of funding requests and bespoke tariffs that deal with the networks directly and come back to us. And again, you're always going to have challenges when you're dealing with teams like that. You've got different people at different levels that are very busy, that are, responding to lots of different partners. And I certainly wouldn't sit here and say everything is perfect. That's not the impression that I get. The impression that I do get, though, is that, again, it must come from the top, so it filters down from Tanny. They all are absolutely doing their best to keep up with, a world that's changing all the time, ways of working that are different. But they're always, sometimes they don't get back to us as quickly as we would like, but they always do. The information is always there. And if we push, or if we're ever not getting a response quickly, it would only take for me to make a phone call to Tanny and instantly it would be sorted out. So I think having had of running businesses like this, I think that's key. You don't expect to be dealing with partners that are perfect all the time. But what you want is that if something isn't right or it isn't quite where it needs to be, you can contact someone and say, just really quickly, so-and-so hasn't come back to us. This is a really important account. Is there anything you can do? And then, within seconds, something is done. That's how it should be, but it's not typically, but that is how it works within Mdee. So but broadly speaking, I would say their support teams are very good and the account managers are very good. Certainly a lot better than a lot of other businesses that we work with.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's about being listened to and being heard, isn't it? And getting that response when you want it and need it. So there's a lot to say to that.
You know, you don't ever want as you know, someone running a business, you shouldn't want to stomp your feet around all the time and have people constantly jumping and dancing to your tune. Although, you know, I've certainly got colleagues within the that run other businesses that do that a little bit, clearly. But I think there are times when you want to be able to make a call if it's important, if you know, determine that it's worth making that call, that someone will listen and go, yeah, I'll deal with it straight away. You know, clearly that's how we are with our important customers, and when, you know, when we're dealing with acquisitions and things like that and working with other businesses, and you'd hope the same thing. And that's very much the case with Mdee. Yeah,
good. So what sort of sales incentives and support and stuff do they offer with your business? What do Mdee do there?
Well, I mean, the commercial pack from Mdee is competitive anyway. I've certainly found it to be as good, if not better, than we were getting with our previous EE distributor. But then also, Tanny will regularly run incentives with the sales teams that it kind of drives the right behaviours kind of in real time. So it feels, you know, they feel quite achievable. So rather than it being, I don't know, a holiday to Barbados that one of, you know, dozens and dozens of different distributors could win, that ultimately, you know, the salespeople know they're not going to be going on. It'll be someone within the business that will go, you know, so it's run at quite a high level. You know, they'll run incentives where, for example, you know, the guys can earn Amazon vouchers for connections. And, you know, we've seen some of the guys earn quite significant amounts of Amazon vouchers to the point where, you know, they were really pushing EE because they wanted to get enough to fund, you know, all their Christmas presents, things like that. So it was quite, you know, things like that have been really good and very consistent over the last 2 years. Mdee have always kind of run those kind of things with sales teams, and they've responded to them really positively. I would argue as well that probably, you know, they always had an uphill battle with our sales team. They were dealing with a sales team that, for the most part, didn't want to sell EE, either because they hadn't done before or they had done and they didn't like it. And I think by doing that, they, you know, quickly won them round. So if it wasn't, you know, the service and the key change in the way that they dealt with them, getting Amazon vouchers did do it. Yeah. So yeah, they liked Mdee straight away. And they've always done that, and they've always run them. And I'm pretty sure they're running one now even.
Cool. Excellent. So it may be a controversial question, may not. What extra value adds would you say Mdee offer your business that maybe their competitors don't, the distributors don't?
I think it comes back to the relationship and the way that they work with me, the other managers, the sales team. I think EE is inherently quite a complicated product. And I think, you know, anyone looking to partner with an EE distributor will naturally go, well, what are we like? You know, who's going to pay us the most money, most per connection? I think Mdee they've got that right. You know, their commercial pack is good. It's easily as good, if not better, in most cases than we were getting previously. I've no doubt it's competitive. But I don't think when you're trying to sell a product that isn't, you know, let's be honest, it's not straightforward. You need to be with a distributor that knows the product inside out, that specializes in it. I think that's key. You know, if you deal with other distributors and they sell all three, I can tell you, we know EE the least well, because it's tricky. They're tricky to connect, tricky to deal with. So you want a partner that knows the product and is an expert in that field, but also that fundamentally cares about the relationship. And I think that's where Mdee are important. And any sensible business will have to weigh up the pros and cons of commercials versus service. And it's about getting that balance. And I think that's where Mdee will be the preferred option over other options within the distribution.